Okay, so like I said, thank you for joining us today. My name is Shannon Seibel. I'm a career coordinator in career development, and we're going to be talking about the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities National Internship Program. So with the HAKU National Internship Program, there are two components. There's a federal component and a corporate component, and there are internships available for all majors in both components. So some benefits that you will receive if you are selected for the National Internship Program. There's a biweekly pay based on a 40-hour work week. So currently that biweekly pay for undergraduates is $1,220, and for graduate students, it's $1,360. And then, so these next two benefits, so with these internships, there are internships around the country. With the federal internships, about 2/3 of them are located in DC. However, right now, in summer semester and for fall, all of the internships are remote, and they're kind of looking at things on a semester by semester basis. So there's a good chance that that in spring semester and even potentially next summer semester, things will still be fully remote for them. So with that being said, right now they do not have the travel assistance or assistance with finding housing. But once things are no longer remote, they will help you with travel to and from your internship site. So if you are interning someplace not Chicago, they do have some internships available in Chicago. But if you are interning somewhere outside of Chicago, they will pay for your travel to and from your internship site. So you don't have to worry about that. They'll pay for it. They'll figure out your travel for you. And then with housing, they don't provide housing for you, and that they don't pay for it or offer some kind of housing stipend, but they do help you with finding housing. So especially in DC, but in some other larger areas, larger cities, they have regular housing that they have for interns. So you would be living with other Haku interns. It would be more affordable than maybe some other housing in the area, fully furnished, close to public transportation and grocery stores, and there's also no like credit checks or upfront costs for it as well. Like I said, if you do intern in DC or in another large city, they have some housing readily available that they regularly use. If you're in an area where they don't regularly have interns, they're still going to help you find that housing, and help you with obtaining that housing. So then the next benefit is academic credit. So you don't have to receive academic credit in order to participate in the Haku National Internship Program. But if you choose to receive academic credit, they will do whatever they can to help you receive that academic credit. So making sure that all of the requirements are met in your internship so that you can receive that academic credit through your major. And so that's, if this is something that you're interested in and you would like academic credit, I would highly recommend that you talk to your major advisor to talk about what the requirements are for your major to receive academic credit for this internship. And then the final benefit is professional development. So usually that ends up being things like networking events, federal job fairs, help with maybe interviewing or your resume support, things like that. They're still doing professional development events. It just looks a little bit differently right now since things are fully remote, but they are still having those virtual professional development events. So now for eligibility. Um, so as I mentioned, there's no specific major requirement. All majors are eligible to participate in the National Internship Program. But you must make sure that you've completed your freshman year of college before the internship begins. So that means if you're a first semester freshman right now, you can't apply for the spring semester, but you can apply for the summer semester. You also have to have a minimum of a 3.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale, and you must be enrolled in a degree-seeking program at an accredited higher education institution. So NEIU counts for that, but you have to be enrolled in like a bachelor's or a master's program here. If you're in a certificate program or you're a non-degree seeking student, unfortunately, you don't qualify for the internship. One kind of small asterisk to that is, even if you're taking classes now, but maybe you've graduated with a bachelor's or a master's, or a PhD, some kind of degree within the last 12 months, you are eligible still for the internship program. You just have to make sure that you complete that internship within 12 months of graduating. So say you are graduating this semester, you just have to make sure that you complete your internship by December of next year. And then the final requirement for eligibility is authorization or eligibility to work in the United States. So something that's kind of unique with the Haku National Internship Program is that you're not applying for a specific internship, you're applying for the program. And what that means is you send them in your application materials, and then they find an internship that that's a good fit for you. So, with the federal internships, there's opportunities available in several areas, but not limited to business, communications, computer science, science and health sciences, engineering and math, international studies and political science, natural sciences, and arts and humanities. And so, like I said, that's just a sample of some fields that that there are internship opportunities in, but definitely not limited to that. And as I mentioned earlier, all majors are encouraged to apply. Currently, there are some in-demand majors like math, environmental sciences, geography and GIS, graphic design, and agricultural studies. So that just means that they've had a lot more opportunities for students in those majors, but definitely if you're interested in the program, regardless of major, go ahead and apply. Some of the federal departments and agencies that they've had internships in are like USDA. They've had a lot of internships there. The Department of Health and Human Services, even the Library of Congress, USAID, the Department of Veteran Affairs, and Department of Defense. And that's just a very short list of all the agencies and departments that they've had internships in. They have many available every semester. So with the corporate internships, just like the federal internships, they're going to be placing you in an internship. And some of those fields that they've had internships in previously are IT and computer science, accounting and auditing, marketing, communications, business, education, sciences and environmental studies, and healthcare. Just like the federal internships, with the corporate internships, even if you don't see your major up there, still go ahead and apply if you're interested. They may have something available for you. That's just, some common fields that they've had internships in. And some of the partners that they've had recently for their corporate internships are Google, Ford, Oracle, Miller Coors, and the Environmental Defense Fund. So program deadlines. So here's kind of where the two programs, the two components start diverging from each other. So the corporate internships, as you'll see at the bottom of the screen, they're only available in summer, but there's no deadline to apply. You can apply throughout the year, and if they have an internship that they think is a good fit for you, they'll place you in that internship for the summer. Now with the federal internships, they have them all year round, fall, spring, and summer. So as you see, fall deadline has already closed, but the applications for spring 2021 and summer 2021 are currently open. So you'll see a few different deadlines there for summer. If you are interested in, say an internship with the CIA, or maybe another agency or department where you would have to have like a high level of security clearance, make sure that you have your application in by that early deadline of October 30th. Anything after that, and you won't be able to be considered for any of those opportunities, just because it takes that long for the background check for your security clearance. Also, deadline for October 30th also includes spring 2021. So if you're interested in that, in interning during the spring, make sure you get your application in by October 30th. And then the regular deadline for summer is February 12th. Go ahead and ignore that quarter deadline. That's if we were on the quarter system, but we're on the semester system. So just go by the early deadline and the regular deadline. Okay. So another way where the federal internships and corporate internships are different are the application processes. There's two separate applications. One for the federal one for the corporate one, separate components to those applications as well. So if you're interested in the federal internships, there's 7 parts to the application. The first one is basic demographics, and then your emergency contact information. And then the third one is your educational background. Your fourth one is your resume. Your fifth one is your work history. So there's a little bit of a difference between those two. I know that seems a little repetitive. So your work history is just everything that every job that you've done. Your resume is going to tell a little bit more about you. It's going to tell your story. So you'll have some work experiences on there, but you might also have volunteer internship experiences, or maybe some projects that you've done in your course or in your courses and outside of school, different campus organizations that you've been a part of. Maybe there's been some conferences that you've gone to. Maybe you've presented some research. Those are all things that you can include in your resume to kind of tell your story about who you are as a student and what your interests are. And then section 6 is the essay portion. So they typically have like 3 to 4 questions for the essay, and you want to make sure that you're just addressing those questions and you're not expanding any more than the questions asked for. So usually the questions will include what is your personal motivation for applying to the Haku National Internship Program? What are your academic and/or career goals? And what skills can you bring to an employer? And what skills would you like to focus on throughout the internship? So those are some things that they ask for you to include in the essay. So those are some things to think about when you're applying. And then the seventh section is required documentation and survey. So that's your transcripts or certificate showing that you're enrolled in school, or maybe your diploma. I believe there's also a letter of recommendation that's required as well. So those are the required documentation. And then with your resume and your essay, make sure to have either somebody in career development or a faculty member that you trust, or even a learning success writing tutors, proofread your resume and your essay before applying. And so now with the corporate internship, your resume, is pretty much your application. They ask for some of these things that we're saying to include in the resume. They ask for them in the application, but you want to make sure that you have that strong corporate resume. So it's a maximum of 1 page, and you're highlighting some similar things that you would highlight in the federal resume. So leadership roles, student organizations, volunteer experiences, any related coursework, professional conferences that you've attended, maybe some study abroad experiences. You want to make sure that you're including all related experience, including jobs, internships, or related projects. Even if you didn't get paid for it, but it's related, you still want to go ahead and include that in your resume. Include your GPA, languages and experience with software and or computer applications or programs. And just like with the federal application, make sure you have somebody proofread your resume before applying. And then in addition to your resume, be ready to talk about what your career goals are and how an internship will help you reach them. So some things to keep in mind when applying for the National Internship Program. As I mentioned, you're applying to the program and not to specific internships. So be flexible and be open to a variety of positions in a variety of locations. Luckily, right now, you're at an advantage if you can't travel anywhere else for an internship because they are remote. But if you're looking to apply later on when the internships aren't remote, if you're able to be open to a variety of locations. Just because if you limit yourself to specific locations or specific positions, you might not be able to take part in this really great experience to gain some experience for your career. Also, be patient. You might not hear back right away. If you about an internship, they'll let you know if you're eligible, but they might not have an internship that's a good fit for you when you apply. So that's why it's important also to apply early. So that way, they have your application in, and as soon as they get something that is a good fit for you, they can place you in that internship. It's also important to remember you do have to interview for the internship before you are offered it. And you're going to be interviewing with the hiring official and not Haku. So make sure the questions that you have for the interviewer, because you should always bring questions to an interview, make sure those questions are directed towards the hiring official and they're not about the Haku internship program. Make sure that when you're thinking about what your responses to some of their questions might be, make sure you're keeping that in mind too, that your responses are geared towards the specific internship position and not the Haku program. And so those are just some things to keep in mind when you're applying and going through the process for the internship program. So if you decide that you are interested in this program, you can always either schedule an appointment with one of us in career development to go over the application process and your materials. You can always come into our walk-in hours as well. They're through Zoom, and the meeting ID and password is there. You can always contact us if you lose that information. And our walk-in hours are Wednesdays 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and Thursdays 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. We also have somebody from the USDA that works at NEIU. His office is in NEIU C building. His name is Julio Puentes, and he's an education specialist for the USDA. And if you have any questions about the Haku National Internship Program, he's a really good source of information for those answers as well, and his contact information is on the screen. So I don't see I don't see any questions to me in the chat. But if anybody has any questions, like I said, you can feel free to use the chat or just unmute yourself and ask a question. I don't know, Valerie, has there been any questions in the chat at all?
I have not seen any yet, but everyone, if you have any questions, like Shannon said, feel free to unmute yourself. We'd love to help out.
Yeah, I had a really quick, actually 2 quick questions. So you were discussing the essay for the federal internships. So can you repeat what you would expect or what we should think about when we're writing that essay?
Sure. So I'm sorry, just trying to grab my notes from that. It's usually these 4 questions. And the first one is, what is your personal motivation for applying to the Haku National Internship Program? And the second is, what are your academic and/or career goals? The third is, what skills can you bring to an employer? And the fourth is, what skills would you like to focus on throughout the internship? And so it's usually, I know they have it broken down into those 4 questions, but they're looking for, one singular essay that addresses all of those questions within it. And I believe it needs to be around 750 words, I believe, from the last time I looked at it. But those are some things, those are typically the 4 questions that they ask. And then, did you have another question?
Oh yeah, I had sorry, at the beginning you were talking about the benefits, and you talked about the biweekly pay. So just so that way I can inform other students, how much was it for undergrad versus graduate students?
So right now, their biweekly pay for undergraduate students is $1,220. And then graduate students is $1,360.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody else have any questions? It looks like there's a question in the chat. Came in late to the meeting, but which are some of the institutions included in the federal internship program? So by institutions, you mean the like the different federal agencies and departments? Okay, so with both the federal internship program and the corporate internship program, they don't have they don't ever give out like the specific list of internships. So the internships could be in a wide variety of agencies and departments. Some of the ones that I had up on the screen, they're ones that they've had internships with in the past. The USDA, the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Defense, the Department of Veteran Affairs, USAID, and the Library of Congress. What I can do, if anyone is interested, if you want to send me your email privately through the chat, Haku has a list of like sample internships, and it has like a description of the internships, what agency they're with, and what particular majors they're looking for those internships. And they're kind of internships that they've historically had. And I want to stress that they're not, it's not like a comprehensive list of the internships, it's just some examples. So that way you can kind of get an idea of the different departments and agencies that have internships previously. Does anybody else have any more questions? Okay, so do most of these internships take place in DC? So with the federal internships, about 2/3 of them take place in DC. And yeah, right now they are remote. Um, right now they're fully remote and they probably will be next semester as well. But yeah, about 2/3 of the federal internships take place in DC. With the corporate internships, that one varies, depending on who their corporate partners are. But the federal ones, about 2/3 are in DC. Um, so I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. I'm gonna give it just a couple moments just in case anybody has any more questions. Um, or if you have any questions, like I said, you can feel free to unmute yourself as well.
Hey, Shannon, I have a question for you.
Sure.
What should students and recent alumni expect in their professional growth? I know you talked about the mentorship, but also their personal development, personal professional development.
So, so with both of these internship programs, with both of the components, they're placing you into internships that they think are, a good fit for you in terms of your professional development. So based off of, what you say your career goals are, they're going to, place you in an internship that can help you build those skills that you mentioned that you're looking to build. So that's, in some ways that you can grow through the internship. But also just simply networking with people in your field, that it's a really great opportunity, to network through these internships. Because even if you don't end up with a job with, wherever you intern, you're still building those connections, and somebody that you worked with through your internship, they might know somebody else who's hiring, and they're looking to hire somebody like you. So those are some really good opportunities for your own professional development, within the different internships. And like I said, they're placing you to make sure that you are getting the most out of this internship. They have that in mind when they're placing you.
I have one more question. Usually when I apply to certain internships or jobs, I tend to be very specific on what I'm looking for. Would you recommend that in this particular case, or should I be more broad?
So that's a great question, because they do ask you, what are your career goals and what are you looking to, like what skills are you looking to get out of this? So you can talk about that specifically in your essay, but when you're doing your resume, um, I would be more broad, just because they are placing you. So the broader you are, the more information they give you there, the less specific you are, the more opportunities you will have to be placed in different internships. Because like I said, they're not going to place you in an internship that is going to do absolutely nothing for your professional growth. But they might place you in an internship that can be good for you, but you might not realize that. Um, that, if that makes sense. So it might be like an internship that you haven't thought of that could help you, but they see it as helping you achieve these goals and gain these skills that you're looking for. So that's why in your resume you want to make it relevant, but don't be so specific that it's clear that you're looking for this one very specific type of internship. Like not mentioning a specific agency that you want to intern in. You can talk about, again, with your career goals, being interested in working for them one day, but not kind of pigeonholing yourself with your resume into for that specific internship or organization.
All right, thank you.
Okay. And once again, going to give it a few moments. If anybody has any other questions, um, feel free, like I said, unmute yourself or send it in the chat. Okay, well, so it looks like there are no more questions. Like I said, if you want if you want me to send you those list of like sample internships, feel free to send me your email privately in the chat, and I'll go ahead and send them to you all this afternoon. And this will be. Oh, sorry. Was there somebody else?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just wanted just a real quick question similar to Valerie's question about personal development during the internships. So do you have any stories or examples of where after these internships, how far students have gone in their professional or academic work after finishing their internship with ICOO?
So I don't have any. The reason I don't is because we're just kind of getting this getting these info sessions and promoting these internships. We just started these about a year ago, so I don't have any for any NEIU students, but on the Haku National Internship Program website, they have kind of stories of interns where they're talking about their internships and talking about the different things that they've gained through their internships, and you can find those there to kind of see what their experiences have been. I don't know if they have any. I don't know if they have any kind of talking about their experiences after the internship program, but I will say, especially with the federal internships, it's really helpful because you are gaining that network. So you're meeting people that are already working either in the federal government or even with the different corporations. So you're kind of getting that like knowledge from them and gaining that network to kind of help you in getting like a foot in the door.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Does anybody have any further questions?
And if you don't have any questions right now, that's totally fine. You can always reach out to us through our department or office's email, ocs@neiu.edu, or Shannon directly. She is great and she knows a lot about this amazing program. So do not hesitate to reach out to us because we're here to help.
Well, one last question. You also help with resumes overall, right? Not just for this particular
Yeah. Yeah. If you need help with your resume or cover letter or any other application materials for your for an internship or a job, we can help with that. If you are interested in grad school, we can help you with your resume and essays for that. If anything related to choosing your career path and getting there, we can help you with that.
All right, good to know.